What I want to talk about today is, what do you do when everyone around you is pregnant but you? You lost a child, dying to have another baby, and doesn't seem to be happening for you no matter what you try. You're trying to do yoga, you're trying to relax so you're not stressed, you're praying your heart out, and it just seems like God is giving everybody a baby but you. So that's kind of my story right now, I guess. Three of my friends, good friends, we're all pregnant, and one of them now has a 12-day-old baby, which I just met yesterday. And then my other friend had her baby yesterday, and I just met up with a friend for coffee this morning who has her baby on the way in 2 weeks. So it literally is like I'm surrounded with pregnant women, and I love them all. So I've decided personally for me to not avoid people who are pregnant if they're good friends. I just have to deal with that and tell myself, that this is God's time for their child to be in the world, and for some reason He's got some other kind of plan for me and for a child that may come through me or may not. And that's hard. That's really hard. It's really hard to not compare and to not look at my journey compared to their journey. But I'm doing everything in my ability to not do that, and praying a lot and asking God to just help me surrender my desire to have a child and believe that my life is valuable without children, and that I can love and accept myself right now as a woman who's married with no children, and that's okay, regardless of what our cultural norms are and what the culture seems to tell us, that we have to have children, or that's our worth, or that's whatever, that's our contribution to the world. It's like, God made us for a purpose far beyond just bearing children, and I've known that for years because I've lived without children for so long. But once we had our daughter and she kind of exploded our hearts full of love, it was a lot harder to imagine a world without children, because it's like I had that for just a second. And if you're here, I'm guessing you've lost a child, so you kind of know what that is. Or you might have other living children and you're just dying to have a sibling for your other living child or children. So it's hard. It's hard, and I hear you and I relate. But to me, there's two options. We can trust God, or we can just avoid people. Avoid anything that will trigger us, avoid pregnant people. But that's not an option to me in my mind. It's like, that's not the real world. We live in a world where pregnant women are everywhere. People are having babies, and it's the way of our world, of course. So it's just, I am choosing to trust God. I'm choosing to believe that even the promise that He gave to Abraham, that it might apply to me. I was reading a verse, and I wish I had it, but it's on my phone. But it was in Galatians, I believe, and it was saying that, I'll list it in the notes here. It was saying that the promises of Abraham do apply to us as God's children, like the extension of that. And that was pretty cool, because obviously God didn't tell me I will give you a child, and make you create many nations through you. But I'm going to choose to believe that and take that as, there will be descendants from my line, from my body, hopefully, So, it might be foolish. I think some people, it's easy for us to we try to have trust and faith that no, God would want to give me a child. It's just not His timing. Let me just pray and be patient and wait. Or, we vacillate, because then we're like, I'm an idiot. I'm a fool. I'm just trusting in this, having this blind faith for what? I'm just going to be made, put to shame, or made to be a fool for believing that. But to me, I would rather live my life having faith, because I feel better, honestly, when I'm just trusting God and letting go of the control and believing that He has purpose for me, and it may not include a child, but somewhere in my heart just feels and believes that God would want me to have a child, and a living child that I can raise this time. You know, I don't know that for sure, but that's my choice, is that I'm holding on to that and I'm praying for that. So, you know, I don't know your situation or your age or what you've been told by doctors or anything, but I do know that God is a miracle worker and God can do miracles. You know, he did not choose to save my daughter. He didn't choose that, because he must have seen some greater good in the end product. I mean, it sounds horrible, but I don't know what that is. I don't like to think of that either, because that makes me upset. At the same time, it's like, oh great, God. But you know, I feel like in the end of life, looking back on it, I'll not have all these questions for him, and I will not be upset, because I'll understand. So that's, again, our choice. We can choose to trust him in that pain, in that longing, that massive longing that we have for a child, that we see everyone else getting to experience that. But, you know, we can choose to trust him, or we can go about our own ways, wreaking havoc in our own hearts, just trying to fight and control everything, and being upset at God all day long. Or we can trust him. There's really only two choices in life. So I don't know about you guys, but I choose to trust, and I know that, you know, I know that God can absolutely do miracles. There are medical miracles all the time, for people who, you know, don't have any ovaries, or don't have heard of somebody birthing a child with no uterus. I don't even know how that could be possible. So there's just like bizarre, you know, things like that. I mean, that's not my story as far as I know. It's unexplained for infertility, but we'll see. You know, it's just age related, I think, and just believing, just trusting, and I guess putting this out there. It's kind of vulnerable to let people know that I'm trusting God, that he will give another, you know, bring another child into our lives through my body. But we'll see what happens. And if he doesn't choose to, then I will still choose to trust him, because I feel like it's a leap of faith to not trust him. There's a leap of faith that direction, and there's a leap of faith towards him. So I can make that choice, and you can make that choice. It just depends how you want to live your life, trusting God or trusting in whatever, in nothing. And then, you know, waiting to see at the end of all time, like what that choice was, and what choice you made. Did you choose him, or did you choose your own way? Yeah. And then obviously we have all eternity to deal with that choice and that consequence. So I'm choosing to be grateful today for my daughter. My husband and I remind each other all the time that we'll have her for all eternity. We'll have her for all eternity. And she's beautiful and perfect, and she's a gift to us, even if she's not here. She will always be our little gift, and we will get to spend forever with this precious little girl that we met so much. So my prayer for you guys is just that God will put faith in your heart. I do believe that's a gift from God. I don't believe that we have that on our own. I believe that God gives us the gift of faith if we ask him to help us in our unbelief, and help us in our doubts, and help us in our pain, that he will give that gift of faith and that gift of trust to us if we will just move towards him and take a little step, jump, whatever it is, towards trying to trust him in the pain and in the sorrow and in the not understanding and the not knowing why, and release that desire to know why, just releasing it to him. So that's my prayer for you, is that God will do that in your hearts as you're working through your own story and your own process. So much love to you all. I will talk to you soon.